Well, earlier today, Rachel Reeves in Downing Street, the Chancellor, set out the choices she faces as Chancellor.
When I was appointed Chancellor, people put their faith in me to take our country forward. Not to be swayed by political convenience. Not to always do what is popular, but to do what is right. At the budget, I will continue to deliver on the priorities of the British people. Cutting NHS waiting lists, cutting the national debt, and cutting the cost of living. And in the context of the long-term challenges on our productivity and heightened global uncertainty, any Chancellor of any party would be standing here today facing the choices that I face.
Rachel Reeves also spoke about the burden of national debt.
The UK's national debt now stands at £2.6 trillion, equivalent to 94% of GDP. Before the mini-budget, our borrowing costs were in the middle of the pack compared to other advanced economies. But now we have the highest borrowing costs of any G7 country. Today, 1 in every £10 of taxpayers' money is spent on debt interest. Not paying that debt down, but just paying the interest to our creditors. At the budget last year, I changed the fiscal rules to strike a careful balance, to invest more in capital alongside a credible plan to grow our economy and bring debt down within this Parliament. That was the right decision to break the cycle of low productivity and low growth.
Leslie says Reeves didn't deliver a speech, she delivered waffle, word soup, obfuscation and excuses. Leslie's texted in on 87222 to let us know her opinion. What do you think? You can let us know on that same number, or 03444991000. The Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Badenoch, wasn't impressed. This is what she said.
The Chancellor's speech was one long waffle bomb. A laundry list of excuses. She blamed absolutely everybody else for her own choices, her own decisions, her own failures. She claims she will focus on the priorities of the British public. Whose priority is it to pay more tax? It is basic economics that if you tax something, you get less of it. Remember those graduates who aren't finding work? Some people are blaming AI. It's not AI's fault. You can draw a direct line between what Rachel Reeves did in the budget last year and the dire prospects that many of those graduates are facing now.
Ryan Sabey is the Deputy Political Editor and indeed the Economics Editor of The Sun. Ryan, good to have you on the programme. How likely do you think it is that Rachel Reeves is going to raise taxes based on the speech this morning?
I think the fact is that she's going to raise taxes. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think the numbers just add up to the fact that she's going to have to find several, different pots of money to try and plug the nation's finances. I think the big question is this financial hole, the black hole that we've been speaking about for several weeks now, is it big enough that she has to pull the lever and break one of the manifesto pledges? Does she go for national insurance? Does she go for VAT? Or does she go for income tax? I think that's the big question. I feel like the Treasury, the Chancellor haven't made those final decisions yet. But what this morning did was pave the way, lay that groundwork for the possibility of one of those big levers being pulled, and it seems that the most likely one is income tax. Let's wait and see. There's 3 weeks to go. There's still a few bit of to and fro between the Treasury and the independent watchdog on this. So let's just wait and see.
She said, I don't want to necessarily do what's popular, I want to do what's right. Many people would believe what is right is keeping her promises and saying if you make a solemn promise not to raise these 3 taxes, which I think was pretty stupid in the original instance, surely if she goes back on that promise, she will lose so much credibility as Chancellor. And we've seen the markets reacting very badly today, haven't we?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you look at the pound, the value against the dollar was at its lowest since April. So that's one thing to bear in mind. But I think the language that the Chancellor used this morning, each of us must do our bit. Well, that is very, very stark and different language to what she used just a few weeks ago. I was out in Washington, D.C. with her at the IMF at one of their meetings, and she was talking about how the fair share of tax must be paid by the wealthy, those with the broadest shoulders. Well, that is very, very different to what she said today, saying that each of us must do our bit, which sort of suggests that that will fall on working people. For example, and there was that, again, like you say, that solemn promise during the election manifesto that working people wouldn't be affected. I think the interesting thing will be, what is the definition, and we've had this for the last 18 months since they came to power, what is that definition of working person?
And when you say things, Ryan, like we must all do our bit, I mean, many people feel as if we are doing our bit because the taxes that we pay are the highest as a proportion of what the country makes since the Second World War, and Labour have put up taxes even from the high burden that the Tories had when they left office. And actually, from Rachel Reeves's perspective, there's more that she can do, certainly, but it's going to make life more difficult for people, isn't it?
Yeah, you just look at, I asked her this morning about the cost of living crisis. She said that was going to be one of her key priorities. Well, is she actually going to make a material difference to people's lives, or is it just going to be sort of tinkering around the edges? I think one of the big focuses of the budget will be to try and bring down food prices. Now, one of the things that she talked about was making sure that supermarkets don't get hit by increased business rates. She hinted very strongly at that. But is that really going to have much of a knock-on effect when people go around the supermarket filling up their trolley and having to pay their bill? One other thing that she hinted at was energy bills coming down. Would VAT be taken off that? Possibly saving households around £86 a year. Now, these are not to be sniffed at, but are they really going to make much difference? When you look at food inflation going, about 6%. Household bills, going through the roof, they're welcome. But as I say, are they going to make a big difference?
When you were there this morning in Downing Street, Ryan, were the questions that Rachel Reeves were asked, were there many about this rental row? Did that come up very much? Did she deal with that?
So again, about the red...
Yes.
Sorry, the Red Bull...
No, sorry, the rental row. The rental row.
The rental route. It came up once. There was one question that came up, and she batted it off very quickly. She didn't want to be drawn on it. The one thing that she did say, there was an exchange of letters between herself and the Prime Minister. The independent ethics advisor also got involved, and she closed it down very quickly. So she wanted to make this very much focused on the budget and not bring in any sort of personal controversy. So I think if the press conference had gone on a little bit longer and everyone had got a question, perhaps that she may have come unstuck on that, but she didn't want to dwell on it.
Tell me about this Siegos deal as well, delayed after this amendment. What will happen now, do you think, in the House of Lords, and will this simply delay it, or will the government pause for thought on actually consulting the Siegos Islanders?
Yeah, I think what will happen here is that I think that a form of words will be used to actually get this piece of legislation through. Now, it seems like the Siegosians will have to be consulted, because it looked like the Liberal Democrats were going to vote with the Conservatives and defeat the government, because Labour don't actually have a majority in the House of Lords. So I think there will be some consultation, and eventually it will be got through. But this hold-up could be for weeks, possibly months, going to the new year. So again, let's just wait and see what happens on this.
Ryan, thank you. That's Ryan Sabey there, Deputy Political Editor and Economics Editor of The Sun.